Special Rapporteur James Anaya and Chairperson Jabe Mabuliat. We, the Youth Caucus, commend the Declaration as a universal minimum standard of indigenous rights peoples. However, as an aspirational document, the rights under the UN draft are in fact empty rights unless we are incorporated into domestic law. Mr. Anaya, we used to focus on 3 areas today: education, criminal justice, and the implementation of the Declaration. Education is our great concern of youth. In order to shoulder the responsibility of carrying our cultural heritage and advocacy for equality and justice, the young generation of indigenous peoples should be equipped and fully understanding our culture and our rights. Language is the life force of our people. It sustains us and educates us about our customs, traditions, and histories. The chance to not only learn our native tongue, but to be taught in our native language is essential to fully acknowledge and appreciate our ancestors' worldview. However, due to the modern developing patterns, indigenous children have migrated to the cities for opportunities. When indigenous children transfer to urban schools, they not only lose the chance to obtain the traditional knowledge that has been passed down from our ancestors, but also fail to learn their mother tongue in a natural environment. We believe mainstream school curricula must balance both mainstream and traditional education, no matter where our youth are attending schools, and that human resources, material resources, and funding are provided to ensure an indigenous approach to education. Criminal justice. Indigenous people make up a large proportion of state prison population, and this is the case in New Zealand and Australia. In New Zealand, Maoris are 50% of the prison population and only 15% of the total population. This pattern is similar across all indigenous people and in particularly for our youth. At each stage of our criminal system, from apprehension to conviction to parole, there exists a bias towards indigenous people in a punitive system. We note that the incarceration of our youth leads to isolation from their community, the breakdown of family units, and reoffended. Implementation of restorative justice through forums such as indigenous courts must be a priority issue. If not, we fear that the criminal justice system, through its punitive approach, will continue as a colonizing and disenfranchising tool for young indigenous people. The Youth Caucus commands countries such as Bolivia. We have incorporated aspects of the UN draft into their constitution. However, aside from international pressure and justical creativity, it is hard for our peoples to hold their state accountable. We know that implementation is essential to give effect and sustenance to the rights within the Declaration. Incorporation, as opposed to endorsement, ensure that state governments are held responsible for breaching our rights. Implementation is a pressing issue for our people, and we, the Youth Caucus, implore the Special Rapporteur to move towards implementing our foundation rights. Without greater incorporation, the future of our people will remain subject to the states and their interests. We respectfully submit the following recommendations. First, we urge the Special Rapporteur to focus on language revitalization. Youth need the chance to learn their culture. Indigenous language must be offered in the urban schools where there are indigenous pupils and students. Indigenous culture and history must be integrated into the curricula in an indigenous-based way. Second, Special Rapporteur investigates bias and racism towards indigenous youth in a criminal justice system, and in particular, we recommend Special Rapporteur encourage the development of indigenous courts premised on customs and restorative justice. Third, we submit that the Permanent Forum, with the help of Special Rapporteur, to set up a half-day section on the topic of unrecognized indigenous people, because without the recognition, many indigenous people continue to suffer from the crime against humanity and human rights violations. Lastly, the Indigenous Youth Caucus call on Canada and the United States of America to endorse, support, and implement the UN DRIP expeditiously and with participation of the youth from the region. Thank you.